So I've just unpacked my shiny new copy of the 2025 remix and remaster of Ayreon's The Human Equation, and it's the 30th anniversary of the band's existence this year, and I realised a horrifying truth. I haven't officially ranked and discussed the albums from one of the most important progressive metal projects of all time. Ayreon has a lot to answer for, and the vast majority of my tastes in progressive metal stem from the bands I discovered through Arjen's sprawling sci-fi epic mega project. So yes, I've got thoughts, I've got feelings, and I want to talk to you today about Ayreon's best and worst albums, at least insofar as I'm concerned. But enough of my waffling, let's get right into things and kick off at number 10. This is the album where Arjen tried to make a gothic musical and ended up accidentally soundtracking a haunted soap opera. Transitus has its moments, but man does it feel like being told a spooky bedtime story by someone who keeps forgetting the plot halfway through. The melodrama is thick, the narration is thicker, and yet there's a charm in its camp, like a Hammer horror film with a prog metal budget. It's a noble experiment, but one that ultimately stumbles on its own ambition. Transitus plays out like Arjen's prog rock stage musical fever dream, but despite its cinematic flair and gothic ghost story vibe, it too often feels like spectacle over substance. The dialogue interludes stretch a bit thin even with Tom Baker's immaculate scenery chewing, and while there are flashes of brilliance here and there, the album does ultimately get caught up in its own theatrics. Talk of the Town does bring some welcome Queen-esque melodrama, and Simone Simons sounds divine as she always does, but by the time Hopelessly Slipping Away comes in, I find myself, well, hopelessly slipping away. The concept is bold, I'll give it that, but emotionally this just doesn't hit with the same resonance as his better works do. The red-headed stepchild of the Ayreon verse. It's not bad by any stretch, but Actual Fantasy often feels like Arjen was still shaking off his sophomore dust and figuring out how to fully weaponize his space opera ambitions. It's vibey and lo-fi in a way that's weirdly endearing, like finding an old VHS tape in your attic labelled Prog Experiments Do Not Erase. You probably won't play this one that often, but you will end up respecting it for walking so the others could fly. This sometimes awkward, sometimes brilliant sophomore effort feels like a blueprint really, rather than a fully realised vision. Actual Fantasy is synth-heavy and introspective with an almost cybernetic detachment that contrasts starkly with the emotional fireworks of his later records. Sure, it's got its moments, but it's the least Ayreon of the Ayreon albums, and that really does include the aforementioned Transitus. Computerized stands out as a strong statement, like an early sketch of his fascination with transhumanism, and Abbey of Sin offers a haunting, melodic detour into some medieval psychedelia. But overall, the album feels like a test lab for ideas that would eventually evolve into something far more potent. Okay, so straight up, this one slaps, and it slaps kinda hard. If you just want to break your neck headbanging through hyperspace, then Flight of the Migrators kinda got you nicely covered. This is the heaviest Ayreon outing to date. It's like Dream Theater got trapped in a wormhole with Devin Townsend, with riffs and grooves so thick they should come with a parental advisory explicit content warning. But without Part 1's emotional arc to balance it, this record can feel like, watching only the action scenes from a sci-fi movie. It's cool, but a little hollow by the end. This one definitely takes a little bit of a misstep for me by completely trading out any nuance for pure bombast. It's Ayreon at his most shred-happy, sure, but it can often feel like, I'm just watching a CGI reel without enough of a human core underneath it all. Still, that being said, there's no denying the punch of chaos with its relentless drumming and dizzying riffs. It's like a starship battle in audio form. The sci-fi grandeur is captured brilliantly by the music. To the Quasar manages to capture a great sense of cosmic scale, but it's Out of the White Hole that best marries heaviness with Arjen's signature melodic touch. Now, it's a fun album, but I do miss the warmth of his more balanced releases. Okay, here we go, the one that started it all. It's clunky in spots, sure, but you've got to love its earnest charm. It's like watching a prog metal Frankenstein come to life in real time. Arjen's ambition is already off the charts, even on this debut offering, and even if the production can at times sound like it was recorded on a potato powered by hopes and prayers, there's a raw magic to be found here. Plus, any concept album that opens with a medieval bard being sent visions of the future by some technological wizardry from a dying human race deserves at least a polite clap. Arjen's first leap into concept album territory might well be full of rough edges and wild ideas, but the final experiment has this charming DIY energy, like a rock opera staged in someone's garage, but even here his instinct for the epic is undeniable. After the delightful cheese of the album's prologue, opening track The Awareness carries off the record with proggy grandeur, and still serves as the best blueprint of what Ayreon would become known to sound like. Computer Rain Game Over gives early glimpses of his techno-dystopian leanings, while Merlin's Will brings in the theatrical flair that would become his bread and butter. Not quite a classic, but a crucial origin story nonetheless. Okay, this one is the most overtly proggy Ayreon record, and I mean that in both the best and most exhausting ways. 4 huge epics, a plot involving scientists and maths as the key to the universe. It's like a concept album about concept albums. The musicianship is phenomenal, but it leans more clinical than emotional. It's a technical marvel, but sometimes you wish it would just stop solving equations for just a minute and give you, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 more hooks. The theory of everything is sprawling and stuffed to the brim with virtuoso cameos, from Jordan Rudess to Keith Emerson, and the 4-part suite structure gives it a classic prog rock elegance. Like I said though, it can feel a bit clinical at times, but it's an enormous amount of fun all the same, and features some remarkable trade-off vocals between Michael Mills and Tommy Karavik. This is one album I mostly listen to on CD, I'll be honest, as it's split into 42 tracks on streaming services, with a lot of the individual parts not exceeding 2 minutes in length, so it can somewhat overwhelm my delicate Last.fm stats. The closing minutes of Phase 2 Symmetry are among my favourite in Arjen's entire discography though. The sense of epic scale really has to be heard to be believed. This one hits like a sci-fi metal opera on a sugar rush, with some of the catchiest melodies in the discography and a narrative that sets the whole Ayreon universe in motion. The source is Arjen firing on all cylinders. Okay, sure, it's a little goofy in places, looking at you, Run Apocalypse Run, but it leans into its absurdity with total confidence. It's like watching a space rock Broadway show directed by a cyborg Andrew Lloyd Webber. The album forms a narrative prequel in the greater Ayreon lore, and it's fully loaded with heavy hitters. The source feels like Arjen playing with his favourite action figures, just on a planet slowly being swallowed by its own hubris. It's sleek, shiny and stacked with vocal talent, though sometimes the dramatics do verge on self-parody. This does feature my favourite cast list on an Ayreon album for the vocals though, with James LaBrie, Tommy Karavik, Tommy Rogers, Russell Allen, Floor Jansen, Michael Mills, Tobias Sammet and many more, all bringing their A-game to the delightfully camp and silly lyricism. Star of Syrah absolutely slaps with its galloping rhythm and layered harmonies, while The Day That the World Breaks Down is a 12-minute opening masterclass in building tension, character and theme. Now, despite some clunky lyrics here and there, the execution is razor-sharp prog metal opera, and the overall experience is riotously entertaining from start to finish. Here it is. This is the mood piece. Ethereal, melancholic and gorgeously paced, the Dream Sequencer is the calm before the storm. This truly is Arjen's inner Pink Floyd showing through, all atmosphere and introspection. The concept of the last human dreaming through history is chef-kiss sci-fi sadness. And My House on Mars? Oh, good God, yeah, that one still completely kicks my ass to this day. The Dream Sequencer is lush, hypnotic and wistful, trades off heavy metal for spacey atmospherics, letting the melodies really breathe. This is Ayreon's most meditative album and arguably his most emotionally resonant. My House on Mars, I've mentioned it once, but I'm bringing it up again, it's just that good, is a melancholic sci-fi masterpiece soaked in isolation and longing. The track And the Druids Turn to Stone pairs gentle folk melodies with cosmic introspection, and it is a stunning, often overlooked gem that proves Arjen doesn't need a wall of guitars to make something that makes a big impact. Okay, the one where Arjen says, what if I brought in, I don't know, everything, and somehow made it work? A big old nerdy mosaic of prog metal grandeur, 010111001 is the most grandiose entry in the saga, and it's got the kitchen sink, the dish rack, and an entire alien civilization thrown in for good measure. Is it messy? A little bit. Is it amazing? Hell yeah. It's like a season finale written by 6 different showrunners and still manages to stick the landing, so, you know, the polar opposite to Game of Thrones. This is the album where Arjen cranks everything to 11. If Actual Fantasy is the least Ayreon album that there is, then 010111001 is most assuredly the archetypal Ayreon album. Time travel, intergalactic races, cosmic level bombacity, and an ensemble cast of prog royalty. It's absolutely ridiculous and self-indulgent, and I adore it. Age of Shadows is a thunderous opening salvo that sets the stakes sky high, and Ride the Comet is pure melodic ecstasy, a spacefaring sing-along you didn't know you needed. Some narrative beats get tangled in themselves, sure, but the sheer scale and conviction really carry the day here.
I challenge death to meet me at this gate. I challenge Odin to pronounce my fate.
Ho ho, the beloved cheese wheel. This album is peak theatrical Arjen. Over the top, wildly entertaining, and filled with bizarre narrative twists that really just somehow work. It's a barbarian, a Highlander, a hippie, and a knight, amongst others, all stuck in a prog metal fever dream, and it rules. It's like a madcap adventure of Dungeons and Dragons with all the filters removed and the rule of cool applied to every single moment. Is it silly? Yeah, it is. Is it timeless? Kind of also, yes. This was the turning point for Ayreon after the faltering first steps of the final experiment in Actual Fantasy. Into the Electric Castle was the big break. The mad, mystical journey that fully cemented Ayreon's identity. Into the Electric Castle is a genre-defining prog rock fairy tale, as audacious as it is endlessly replayable. It's weird, theatrical, and gloriously camp in all of the right ways. Welcome to the New Dimension kicks things off with cheesy narration and towering riffs. It lets you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. Only someone like Arjen could unironically talk about the cranial vistas of psychogenesis and give me chills up and down my arms. The Garden of Emotions is a sprawling centerpiece that juggles psychedelia, symphonic rock, and narrative tension really quite beautifully. Maybe it shouldn't work, maybe it shouldn't, but it does. An outstanding album, but anyone who knows Ayreon knows exactly what number 1 is going to be. Okay, now look, I know maybe it's a tiny, teensy bit cliche to call this one the best. It's about as original a thought process as calling Sgt. Pepper's the best Beatles album or Dark Side of the Moon the best Pink Floyd album, but this is the one. The human equation is what happens when Arjen stops looking at the stars and turns the lens inward. A psychodrama for the ages anchored by some of the best vocal performances in prog metal history. James LaBrie shines, Devin Townsend devastates, and Heather Findlay steals your heart. No time travel, no aliens, just a man, a coma, and his feelings. It's intense, introspective, and absolutely brilliant. This really is Arjen's masterpiece. The human equations focus into the protagonist's psyche, unraveling a life's worth of trauma through personified emotions is a crucial shift from the big picture, broad stroke sci-fi we've come to associate with him. It's raw, theatrical, and deeply human in a way that his other releases simply aren't. Love and pain remain 2 of the most powerful character studies in the Ayreon discography, but it's trauma that leaves me breathless every single time. Devastating and cathartic in equal measure, this is Arjen at his most vulnerable, his most musical, and his most essential. So there you have it. Now that everyone's clearly disagreed with my rankings and the Transitus fans are sharpening their pitchforks, I'd love to hear what your favourite Ayreon albums are. Where have I missed the mark? Was I too cruel to actual fantasy? Too kind to the dream sequencer? Let me know in the comments down below. If you did make it to the end, guys, I really do appreciate you sticking around. You help make this channel something special. Please do drop me a thumbs up if you like the video, please do tell your friends about little old me, and please do consider throwing me a subscription if you've been enjoying my content. But until next time, guys, as always, keep your rhyme signatures pretty odd.